Hello everyone, and welcome. We have an interesting roundup of news and rumors concerning a Nintendo Direct, multiple Zelda games, multiple Mario games, Star Fox, Age of Calamity, and more. Before we begin, I have a question. Comment below and let us know if you would like for us to continue videos like this where we cover and give our opinions on recent news and rumors outside of the Zelda series. Lately, we have been saving them for our podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, so we can all give our opinion, and all of you can be a part of the conversation in the live chat. And if you know of any news, rumors, leaks, or anything, feel free to comment them below, or email me so I can credit you when we talk about it on a future podcast or video. Now, let's begin. We can start with the rumored Nintendo Direct, as some of the stuff we're going to talk about goes along with the Direct, others involve things later this year or early next year. We will get into some of the Zelda right after the Direct, some other stuff like Star Fox and the other games, before finally ending with the rest of the Zelda stuff. Rumors of a Nintendo Direct seem to always be going around. However, this one does hold some weight, as almost every September, Nintendo constantly has a major Direct full of updates on games already announced, as well as giving us a few surprises for the holiday season and the first few months of the following year. One of the most reliable leakers I have ever seen has had some interesting things to say about it. And yes, I know there are a couple of people out there who don't like Samus Hunter for whatever reason, but if you actually research and check what they've said on Twitter or other places, they actually have 99% of their leaks come true. And I only say 99% because while actually trying to find things they were wrong about, I couldn't. And they even do a great job of compiling lists of dozens and dozens of correct leaks they made for proof of their track record for those who don't believe them. Just recently, they correctly leaked the exact armor for the Age of Calamity DLC, the Nintendo System update, which added Bluetooth, they said was coming in the second half of September, the Nintendo Switch price cut, and countless other things. What we are focusing on today is her giving credibility to this big Nintendo Direct rumor. They say a lot, which you can see on screen, but to make this quick, I'll just summarize. Recap on the status of the Direct and possible future events. I just wanted to point out that I have spoken of the possibility of a Direct this week, but it was based on personal speculation, reiterating that these are hypotheses, but without having certain data to confirm such date. That said, I wanted to raise several points that may open up some scenarios, the positive aspects for a Direct this month. Nintendo is banking heavily on September, partly for commercial reasons, such as closing out the quarter. Metroid Dread previews will be released soon, so the week they fall will be dedicated to them. Mario Party side modes, like the single-player one and the remaining boards, with an overview trailer towards the end of the month, or October. Pokemon and Legend news on a monthly basis, Mario Golf end of September, Smash Bros in October, Animal Crossing, and Age of Clams. Details about Advance Wars as editor mode. I'll try to look into this further and maybe be able to get more up-to-date information based on information from Nintendo sources. Thanks for reading and the support. They came back with an update just a couple of days later. Later in the week, I should be able to give you some updates on the status of the Direct and what to expect in the coming weeks. I want to reiterate that, as I said in a post a few weeks ago, that I wasn't able to get updates on the release date of the presentation, and what I had given was based on my personal assumptions, not to intend as a leak. With recent developments, unless there is a mini Direct this week or several events that fit together perfectly the next, the Direct could slip even in October, but by now I can tell you with certainty that some plans, compared to what was said in July, have definitely changed, and I had already noticed with the last Metroid trailer. Thank you for your support and understanding. Moving on to Age of Clams DLC and more Nintendo Direct stuff, and I think this is kind of obvious. Age of Clams DLC is due to launch in November, so a Nintendo Direct in September or early October would be perfect for this. If you remember our prediction of when we would be getting news and details of DLC for Age of Clams, something is telling me not everything will be revealed in this Nintendo Direct, and a dedicated video going more in depth will come after the Direct, as the Direct wouldn't want to focus 10, 15, or more minutes on the massive amount of DLC this game has coming. New characters, new stages, new battle skills, new weapons, new vignettes, new story, and who knows what other surprises they may have. Remember, the first Hyrule Warriors, which released on Wii U, 3DS, and the Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch, didn't even sell as well. Across those 3 games' entire lifetime combined, didn't even sell as well as the pre-orders alone for Age of Clams. Yet, it was flooded with constant DLC and updates, even after the first 2 announced DLC packs. I feel Age of Clams will get similar treatment as Nintendo knows fans are actually interested in Age of Clams and want to get their hands on anything Zelda related, especially if it may hint towards more Breath of the Wild lore or its sequel coming next year. Next, I'm not sure if this is meant to go along with the Direct or not. There has been many rumors on more Wii U ports coming to Switch. Obviously, Zelda, but a new and interesting one. Some of you may know about 2 or 3 weeks ago I had an email saying Star Fox was being worked on. Not much else was said, and I don't usually cover Star Fox on my channel unless it's us going over a list of Nintendo Direct announcements or part of a list of other announcements or trailers from a Nintendo Direct. However, I did sort of mention this on our podcast, the Highland Gamescast, from about 2 weeks ago. We were discussing the big Nintendo Direct rumor and what we think would be shown off or announced. One of my mentions was based off of this email, Star Fox, and we began discussing Star Fox Zero and its minigame. Coincidentally, about a week or 2 after that podcast, the head of Platinum Games, who worked on Star Fox Zero, came out and stated they were wanting to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. A direct quote says, "It's unfortunate that people aren't able to play older games because they're locked out of the platform. So, of course, if possible, we'd like to bring over any of these older titles to the newer platforms." As with many Wii U games ported to Switch, Star Fox Zero would be greatly improved by just small updates and tweaks. One that I felt was more of a troll, but could be possible, were HD remasters of Pikmin 1 and 2 coming to Switch. And I say troll because most people know of the inside joke on our podcast, with Daniel and Hey Pikmin, or Hey Pikmin 2, being the true masterpiece of perfection that Nintendo's dozens of years of development has been building towards. When I looked into the message, I could see it being a possibility. The remaster of Pikmin 3 for Nintendo Switch was incredibly successful, especially compared to previous titles, doubling and close to tripling sales of other games. Don't worry, if it did happen, it wouldn't be Nintendo taking time away from other new games that could be in development, as Nintendo usually lets small third parties port or remaster games like this. If this rumor is true, with the success Aiding had with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Nintendo would likely have them remaking Pikmin 1 and 2. This is actually something Nintendo often does if a third-party remaster performs well, such as with Tantalus returning for Skyward Sword HD after Twilight Princess HD, and Grezzo returning time and time again 4, 5, or even more times to work on multiple Zelda games after Ocarina of Time 3D's success. And the developers, Aiding, haven't released or announced any games since Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which is a bit odd because they usually have multiple teams always working on ports and remasters, similar to Tantalus. So it actually does make sense one of those teams could have continued to work on the Pikmin series, especially with the new popularity the games have. One of these strange rumors that I received was that Nintendo was going to give another push for Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which everyone freaked out in the beginning because they thought the game would only be available until a certain date, and then no one would be able to purchase it again. All it said was Nintendo was going to be pushing the Super Mario 3D All-Stars games. I don't know if that means separately or a re-release of the actual collection. I think it goes without saying my inbox gets flooded with Zelda rumors, especially Breath of the Wild 2 or remake and remaster stuff. Though recently, none have been from the sources that were previously correct and gave believable evidence of having connections or working with Nintendo. So instead of the faith that I put in previous Zelda rumors that I stood behind, I'm going to say be wary with these. Summarizing everything, essentially more people claiming a Zelda remaster will be announced. Most of them saying Wind Waker HD or Wind Waker HD and another game, with them having various updates, and to be revealed at the upcoming Nintendo Direct or getting its own video reveal closer to the holidays, which reminds me of how Age of Clams was revealed by a little Twitter post out of nowhere. As we mentioned in this previous video that covered interviews and announcements from Nintendo, Tantalus, and others who have remade or remastered Zelda games, these aren't multi-year long development cycles, and they don't take away time that could be spent working on Breath of the Wild 2 or other new games. Wind Waker HD took a small team who were mostly experimenting with a new engine on a brand new console just less than 6 months. And going by other statements the different teams had, it would only take a small third-party team a month or two to finish Wind Waker HD's port to Switch, less than half of the time of the original development for the original HD remaster. So it is possible many of these rumored Zelda Switch ports could be finished and just waiting to be announced, as Nintendo has said they have done in the past. Another option, though unlikely, it would technically even be possible one could start development tomorrow and be finished in time for this holiday season. Again, that's just an extreme example of what could be possible. But going back to more of the facts and what we know to be true, with Skyward Sword HD's release in July, Tantalus, who also remade Twilight Princess HD, has had a few months now for any of their teams to be working on another Zelda remaster, just as Nintendo did with Grezzo. And Grezzo, who are essentially confirmed to be working on a new Zelda, if not multiple Zelda games at the same time, as they have done in the past, and current rumors suggest. So, it is highly likely that if we don't hear about any Zelda projects before this year ends, more Zelda games are almost guaranteed to be revealed in 2022. Some people think Nintendo wouldn't release multiple Zelda games in the same year, so why would they release a remaster close to Breath of the Wild 2? But a quick search will show you they have done this many times, and sometimes even release up to 3 or 4 different Zelda games within a year of each other, including spin-offs, remasters, and new games. Yes, we are all aware, at E3, Aonuma stated they weren't working on any other Zelda games, or whatever. And as anyone who actually follows Nintendo knows, it's the same as they have said about Skyward Sword HD being impossible to put on Switch with optional controls. And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who give us video ideas like this, some of our Zelda theory, top 10 list, and discussion topics that we discuss on our podcast or other videos. If you would like a shout out at the end of all of our videos or the beginning of our podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, as well as any of the other benefits mentioned. So thank you Jon Snow, ZAIN, FRAN, WIGGLYWIGGLE, NORNARB or Brandon, SOBERX, Mr. MONOCLED, METROID, Jen, SuperNX64, David, Zoe, Natsu, Jesse, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏, Ashton, Justin, Candy, Chad, BKRS7, Larulian Sheep, Largnar, Monica, Shadow to Us, Rusty, Lovable Christy, Henry, and of course, Gus. Thank you all so much.